Hey peeps, I have always loved jewelry, and that is why I'm so excited about my brand new sponsor, Katie Waltman Jewelry. Yes, just gorgeous pieces. In fact, you can find, well, earrings like this. I'm going to get in real close. Take a look. Aren't they pretty? I love these. These are called the Opal Star Huggies, and these are just one of many items you can find at katiewaltman.com. She offers beautiful necklaces, those stackable rings, and what I love about these earrings is they go with anything. I mean, opals do. I'm wearing them now with a jean jacket, and you can dress these up, but there's a huge selection. And just for my viewers and listeners of Life Unscripted, you get a 20% off discount off of any of the items. And by the way, it runs out on September 30th. So once again, if you use the promo code LifeUnscripted at katiewaltman.com, you'll find those gorgeous pieces of jewelry and you can dress up your outfit like these.
You're listening to Life Unscripted with Alix Kendall.
Have you ever wondered what it's like to be a flight attendant? From passengers stripping down mid-flight to people fighting over reclining seats. What is happening in the skies? Where is the civility? Well, who better to ask than someone who's been in the industry for decades? Author and flight attendant Heather Poole shares some of the craziest stories in Cruising Attitude, tales of crash pads, crew drama, and crazy passengers at 35,000 feet. Welcome to Life Unscripted. It's so nice to meet you, Heather.
Oh, thank you. It's nice to meet you, too.
Well, you have some really crazy stories, the good and a lot of bad, unfortunately. But let's first talk about why you decided to become a flight attendant. What was it about the job that was calling you?
Well, the job didn't really call me. It called my mother because I never wanted to be a flight attendant, but she always dreamed to be a flight attendant. So I grew up always hearing about flying, and I used to sit at the breakfast table and see all the airline pamphlets spread out, and I'd watch her fill them out, fill out the applications. But whenever she got to the part where it said, "Are you willing to go, go to another base?" I can't even think of that word right now. And she'd always write no because she had me and my sister. So, then later on in my life, whenever anything would go wrong, she'd say, "Why don't you just quit and become a flight attendant? Quit college, become a flight attendant. Break up with a boyfriend, become a flight attendant." And I'd say, "No, Mom, I'm never going to do it. That's your dream, not my dream." So then I was, getting jobs, and one day I had a job that I thought I should be paid more for. So I decided to go look for another job, and I didn't want to just jump into anything. I wasn't going to be desperate. So I thought, what can I do while I'm looking for this perfect job for me? So I saw an ad for a low-cost carrier, and I thought, I'll just do that for a few months and I'll have a little fun and I'll interview for jobs. And then I did it and I loved it. So I never went back. So 30 years later, here I am.
I'm having one of those days where I just don't want to get out of bed. And I blame my Cozy Earth pajamas. They are so soft and buttery. They're made of bamboo. I love bamboo. I have this stretchy pajama set in the brook color. Plus my jammies are stretchy so I can dance in them. Along with the cushy ankle sock, which hug my feet perfectly. Also, Cozy Earth was on Oprah's list of favorite things for 7 straight years. Plus, they have bamboo bedding, and the sheets get softer with each wash. And you can have this exclusive discount, 41% off, if you use my promo code. Go to CozyEarth.com and use the promo code LifeUnscripted for 41% off. Any product. This is a fantastic offer. Cozy Earth products are great gifts, or if you just want them for yourself, get cozy with Cozy Earth. I'm going back to bed. You were hooked. It's been a fascination for me for years, and what I understood years ago was I missed the height requirement, but it's something because I love to travel and I'd love to do more. So it's always been kind of a fantasy job. I know that it's not easy, and we'll get into the not easy part, but if you can describe, how does your life work? Because you live on one coast and you work from another.
Well, okay, but what I do is not common. Everybody that I work with thinks I'm crazy for doing what I do. While a lot of flight attendants do commute, they don't have the commute I have, which is from LA to New York. It's just like getting in a cab and going to work, you know? But sometimes I sit in first class and watch a movie and feel like I'm on a date with myself. So it's not that bad. I don't mind it. I almost always get a seat. And I say that because the commute seems so crazy that nobody else does it. Meaning I don't have a lot of competition from other flight attendants, where flight attendants who do like a shorter commute, Chicago, New York, there could be a lot of people doing that commute. And so it could be a little more stressful because we get whatever seats are open. And these days flights are pretty full, you know, they fill those planes up. So the commuting can be very stressful. So I've been very lucky and I don't mind the commute. I don't mind it. So, but I'm kind of weird. But I mean, I just like to live by the beach, and then I will never give up New York as a base. So that's the problem, because I'm based in New York and we have the best flying out of New York. We have all of Europe, and I love Europe. I love Paris and London and Spain, and like that's where I want to go, especially the last, I don't know how long I have left, maybe 10 years. So that's where I want to just bang it out all in Europe. So I'm staying in New York. But I don't know that when I'll live in New York again. Maybe I'll live in New York in a year or two. I don't know.
But where do you don't you kind of crash in New York, with other flight attendants, and you have big apartments and you kind of move around? How does that work?
Okay, so most flight attendants will get a crash pad, and that would be, and I've had crash pads in the past where it's like 10 to 20 flight attendants in a place. And that can sound very overwhelming, but many times I'd find myself alone in those places because you're in and out. They even have a thing called hot beds where you have just sheets. You put your sheets on, you take your sheets off, and you can store them somewhere and you leave. I mean, I'm kind of lucky because my mom did later become a flight attendant and later on in life. And so we ended up, she commuted from Dallas and I commuted from LA, and we ended up getting an apartment together and sharing it. And I'm like so lucky. It's rent stabilized and it's not, so I stay there. And my son's a musician, so he's in and out. The apartment gets used, but that's not the usual case for most flight attendants.
I work out a couple times a week, and I've been looking for the perfect sports bra, one that is easy to get on and off after a good sweat without throwing out my back. Found it. The Closer Bra by Handful has a zipper front, but it hooks beneath the zipper to kind of keep the girls contained. Handful also offers leggings and other workout clothes in great colors like whipped cream, latte, and navy camo. Made by women for women. Go to handful.com, where I got you a great deal with 30% off the price. Use the promo code LifeUnscripted and you get 30% off. I earn a commission when you use my code. So if you buy, you support me and my show. To make it even easier, click onto My Deals link, where you can find a bunch of other great deals. Promo code LifeUnscripted for 30% off at Handful. All right. So we understand a little bit about your lifestyle now. And your book I found very compelling because of course, you have some of the juiciest galley gossip. So let's get into it. It sounds like when you get on the flight, do you immediately look for the crazy?
Well, first, I don't always know my crew. Even after flying 30 years at one base, I get on a flight and I might know half the crew. I might know one person. I mean, that's always pretty shocking when you just get on and you're just meeting people for the first time.
Yeah.
So who knows? Maybe the crazy's working with me. I don't know, like
Maybe.
And being crazy, I just mean like, different personality types. And when it's like doing a dance, you always, with these people you've never met. So, and then of course the passengers come on. And while I don't want to say I look for the crazy usually lets themselves be known very clearly right away. So yeah, there's always someone or two or three or four or five. And I want to just say there's always like great passengers, and I meet great passengers on every flight, but also like the other ones maybe
high maintenance, maybe.
And they're more fun to write about. So yeah.
I would imagine they probably are. Okay, so let's talk about, obviously post 9/11, things really changed. What was that like? I mean, we know that security has changed, but where were you in that process? And because you've been working for an airline for decades?
Yeah, 30 years I've been working. So it was interesting. So I started with a low-cost carrier. And then I went to one of the three majors. And it was like, whoa, this is amazing compared to low cost carrier. I mean, at the low cost carrier, I was seeing things get duct taped, broken seats. Like it was awful. And so then I thought I was in heaven. But then I got to work on a private jet for Mark Cuban for a few times too. And then I thought I had peaked. Like that was the ultimate. And things were like, couldn't get any better. And then 9/11 happened. And it was like full circle because I watched the major carriers are now like low cost carriers, like I feel like all of a sudden I'm seeing things get duct taped and broken seats, So I feel like we've come full circle and it changed.
And you had to go through
forever.
COVID. And I know that was many years later, but I mean, that's a whole
I
other
didn't
layer.
apply through COVID. So I was lucky. I actually had been injured on the job and I was out of work at that time. So kind of maybe a blessing in disguise in some ways. But let me tell you, when I came back, wow, it was a completely different vibe. Like people became very vocal and they are very eager to express themselves way more than before COVID, like just barking things like, I'm thirsty. And I'm like, okay, well, just ask for a glass of water, on a delay. So it was just like a whole different mentality after COVID. Even though I didn't go through COVID, and things were very hostile during COVID, but I still got to kind of experience the difference in flying between before and after.
You, as a flight attendant, you probably acquire some special skills in serving people, balancing obviously being one. During, some problems with, of course, we all have had to deal with turbulence, but what are some of those skills that people might be surprised at that you've learned being a flight attendant?
Well, I always joke that I'm probably more graceful during turbulence than I am without turbulence, but maybe that's a common thing. I don't know. Some of the skills that we have that you wouldn't think that we have is, when we go to training, we have to we go through a little basic karate class, just in case, which is kind of crazy if you think about it, but then we go through fighting fires and medical emergencies and evacuations. I just got back from all of that. And even though it's role playing, it feels real. So it's highly stressful. And so I would say that we're we are definitely equipped to handle pretty much anything that happens. So,
well, you must be, unusual. Like,
I would say the most important thing that we would do is actually just bringing a situation down. Like when somebody's like, people just come on angry about everything. By the time they get to us, they've been through it all. And then might take their luggage and put it somewhere else. And it's like, that's the straw that broke the camel's back, So it's just trying to diffuse the situation constantly. And, either I do that on my own or I just switch positions with someone else because all of a sudden I'm the bad guy and that person can't, let go of that, or they take it really personal that their bag didn't fit on my side of the plane. So I had to take their bag and put it somewhere else where they could easily get it. But it's just, people are just really emotionally triggered these days.
Yeah. People have stripped down mid-flight and sat down in the middle of just right there where people are walking. But, what do you do with that really bizarre behavior?
It's funny. You just deal with it, as best as you can. Maybe, you always have to have a good sense of humor, I think, in this job. That's for one. Like, I'll have a lady yell at me and then ask me to help her get her bra on. It's like, and I just want to think, well, maybe don't yell at the person that you need help from in that way. I've seen, but the naked passengers, one of my funniest stories is just, I saw a young girl all we did was just roll the cart back and went to serve a lady. She was sitting in a row by herself and she was completely naked. But I loved the story because she had her seatbelt on, which I thought that was pretty great. She had her seatbelt on, but she had nothing else on. And then we told her to put her clothes on. She didn't just go back to her row and put her clothes on. She climbed over the seats completely nude. So yes, there is probably some substance abuse going on there, but also, kind of have to laugh, but also not laugh because it's probably, we don't know what's going on.
There might have been some, either substance or mental health issues for sure.
But for me, like, what's the craziest thing to see is just people taking my stuff. Like, I might have a egg McMuffin I leave on the galley counter, and somebody just comes and takes it. I might have a sweater I just left on my jump seat, and walk down the aisle, someone's wearing it. And what other job is there where people just feel so comfortable with where they are, they just take other people's things and think it's okay to wear them, or eat them or whatever. Yeah.
These are so refreshing. I want to tell you about my new sponsor. You can probably guess right here. These are Aspire Healthy Energy Drinks. And what I love about these is they are half of the caffeine as most energy drinks. They're zero sugar and they have delicious flavors like raspberry acai. And this is mango lemonade, which is perfect on a hot and steamy summer day like it is today. And the best part, listeners to my podcast get 20% off of any of the products. So you can find them at aspiredrinks.com. Don't forget to use the promo code LifeUnscripted. That gives you 20% off. And this is an exclusive offer. So these are kind of green tea powered energy drinks. And I love them. And they give me a little lift in the afternoon without the crash. So cheers to Aspire.
You're watching Life Unscripted with Alix Kendall.
Probably because it's a stressful environment for a lot of people flying. Do you have some tips? I know that you mentioned the woman who was naked, that the one good thing is she did have her seatbelt on, and and for the good reasons, you're a stickler about, look, always wear the seatbelt. Just always, always, always. And that's, I mean,
You know what's crazy about that? You see all these stories in the news, like terrible turbulence is happening these days and people are getting injured. And still, like, more people are not wearing their seatbelt than in the past. And children and babies, and you tell parents, can you put the seatbelt on the child? And they don't want to because they don't want to wake up the child. And it's like, I don't even understand it. But if I had to have a message today, it'd be wear your seatbelt. I mean, is it really that uncomfortable? It's really not. Just put it on. You'll forget about it. And, because people think they go up and hit the plane, but actually the plane comes down and hits you on the head. So.
Yeah. And you obviously have to be trained in some kind of, if there is a medical emergency. What is that training like? I know you have to go through that every year or recertification or whatever it is. You have to psychologically also be of sound mind, I would think, in dealing with cantankerous passengers.
Yeah, it's very stressful. And so we initially at my airline have 7 weeks of training. So, and then just it's like everything, but half of it would be all the emergencies and medical and all that stuff. And then once a year we go back and we review it all. And this year at my airline, they got like real fire on an airplane. So even though it's not a real laptop fire, I mean, we have to fight it. And it's stressful, because they throw a lot of things out at us at the same time. So you're fighting a laptop fire, and then somebody's in the bathroom vaping, and then somebody's having a heart attack. And so they really, try to make us have to adapt and move to a different situation. And it's while it is very stressful, we do it every year. And even though I've done it for 30 years, oh my gosh, I get like nauseous before I go there. But then you always surprise yourself because you're like, wow, I really do know what to do. It's there inside me, like without thinking. But when I am thinking, I get like, I want to throw up because I'm like, I can't do, how am I coming here 30 years straight? And I feel like I don't know what I'm doing. And then afterwards, I'm like, I knew what I was doing. Okay, I'm ready for it. They make you ready for it, But
and I think that's important. People need to understand that there's a lot of training, not just serving beverages, which, by the way, I understand you have one beverage you really hate serving. What is it?
Well, I don't care anymore because we don't pour, back in the day when airlines, we used to have to pour the drink and then we'd hoard the can and you'd have to ask us for the can. Remember those days?
Mm-hmm.
So Diet Coke just takes forever and everyone was a Diet Coke addict. And then it's like, you're just sitting there pouring and fizzing. And this person on the other side of the cart is serving like 3 rows and you're still pouring for 2 people going, oh my gosh. But now we just hand everyone the can. So I don't care. But okay, on that note, being the problem with Diet Coke is it's so addictive. I actually had a very famous New York mayor, not naming him by name, fly a 2-hour flight, and he drank 6 Diet Cokes on that flight. So the Diet Coke people, you can't keep up with them. And the Coke, it pours slow and they drink
Yeah.
fast.
Well, I'm not of that group. I don't like any diet beverages, but so hey, maybe consider that if you're flying about the pouring of the
You can
diet Coke. Although now they give you just here you go, you get the whole can or whatever. There is this debate, and I've talked about this for years. Back when I worked on television, the constant reclining, non-reclining issue with passengers, that this really gets people worked up. Where are we at with that? First of all, why is this such an issue? And what do you think is the correct protocol?
Well, first of all, the airlines have just taken every amount of space. So I understand why people get mad. Like when you're literally in your seat and you feel like strange person's arm hair next to you, or if you're in the middle seat, you can't even cut your salad without looking like a little T-Rex. Like long gone are the days you can even work on your computer in coach because there's no room on the tray. There's no room for your elbows. And I joke, like the airline should just hand out a straight jacket because it'd make flying easier in coach because it could keep your arms in for you, So the airlines are to blame for a lot of this too, but so and different airlines are different. So I think a lot of international airlines, it might be required that people put their seat backs up for meals. We in the US don't have that, but a lot of people will follow that rule, So that is actually a nice thing to do. But I mean, the people are allowed to recline their seat. And unfortunately, look at the seat. What does it go back like half an inch? But yet people lose their minds on that half an inch, So I kind of it is what it is. The person in front of you is allowed to put the seat back. If you have a problem with it, just kindly ask them to, put it back up if you're trying to eat or maybe trying to work on your computer or whatever, maybe because when it's back and you have a drink on your tray table, that can be kind of a problem. So, and I say to the people who put their seats back, go slow, maybe take a peek and look around.
Maybe ask the person behind you.
You don't have to, though. I mean, that's a nice thing to do, but you don't have to. The seat's your seat and it's made to go back. I know a lot of travel experts will argue that one, but I'm not going to argue that one because it's there for you and you paid for your seat. You can do whatever you want in your seat. Just be mindful. Now, what do? And I commute to work every month. So I'm on a flight for 6 hours going to work. I never put my seat back and I don't really I don't know. It doesn't bother me, but I mean,
I've kind of, I have at times but I don't, physically necessarily need to. If anything, my feet, that's sort of an issue, but I mean, you probably
work when you have a kid behind you kicking and the parents aren't doing anything. That's worse, I feel. Or people who, and I don't know why they do this, use the seat in front of them to get in, and then you're like a slingshot and you're like, go.
Yep.
Or people who I don't know, this is a new thing I'm seeing a lot and I've experienced it as a commuter. People who don't want to get up to let you out of the row. They think you're just going to crawl over them. That I have a problem with. You got to stand up to let somebody out of that row. I don't even know what you want me to put in front of your face, but either or doesn't seem like a good idea. So I would say my job from the beginning with social media, we really experienced how that affects, I think, more than any other job. I would say 10, 20, maybe 10 years ago, I wrote my book 10 years ago. I think I might have said this in the book that as soon as something starts to go wrong, I didn't know if I should put on lipstick and fix my hair because I knew I was going to be on camera right away. Now I think other people experience that in everyday in regular jobs, but we were dealing with that from day one. And now I think if anything goes wrong, it ends up on social media. And so I think a lot of times, when we used to be a little bit more strict about seatbelts and things the rules. I remember the day the airline just was you are not an enforcer, you're just a reminder. I'm like, what? We spent so many years really enforcing rules. And I think that changed with social media because people could just take a clip and put it out of context and create a situation that didn't happen and then get everybody riled up so that, then everybody's thinking about their one bad flight and making that every flight, So social media really does affect us. And to the point where if I have a problem with a passenger, I probably won't have that like I won't have a conversation with them right there in front of people because everyone's so eager to create content. I might be like, why don't you come into the galley and let's talk about this alone? Because people, it makes money, and there's nothing better than a bad airplane story, right? Like I used to even joke like the media loves a bad flight attendant story. And if they can make it like, even if the flight attendant was like involved a millisecond, it'll make the headlines, and it'll go viral because people just love that. So, I am very mindful of social media and the cameras, because it will go viral. It will. So, so the most important thing is just to keep your calm and stay grounded and not get emotional. It can be easy to get emotional, especially as a flight attendant if you've been flying all day and it's 12 hours and it's your day 6, and it's just constant. You just kind of have to know like when to take a break and take a deep breath and not be too reactive. It's very easy to be reactive on the plane. And we see that with the passengers who just, I had a guy like ring his call light and he's like, their seat back is back. And I'm like, but yours is back too. Like, hello, like you're like, you didn't even notice that your own seat was back, but you're focused on this other person, So yeah, everybody's just, I think people are just really eager to voice their unique concerns.
Okay, so we've heard about the crazies, and of course they're, well, entertaining, also kind of scary. But, I'm sure you have a story or two of some maybe surprising compassion, because we hear so much about people acting up and being rude. But was there something, over the years that stood out to you of, wow, somebody did something really nice for another passenger that you weren't expecting?
Okay, so of course we have like those instances where somebody will give up their first class seat for like a military personnel, and that's just beautiful, But in my job where we see so much bad behavior, like it's amazing how small a kind gesture will go, like when a passenger comes on and actually looks at me and says, good morning. I'm like, oh my God, they're my favorite passenger, because so few people look at you and speak to you. Like I will sit there and say, good morning, good morning, good morning. And people just stare at me and have no reaction or don't even look at me. And I would joke like some of my best conversations I'm having with myself these days, because, there's nothing to talk about because everybody's got their headphones on. And I miss the old days of people having books, because at least you could see a book cover and go, oh, I read that, or what's that like? Now you just see a phone and you have nothing to engage with a person with. And then they leave the flight going, wow, the flight attendants were rude. Not that we were rude. There was just nothing to talk about, because they're not giving anything. And, and eye contact is so rare. So if I hear a please or a thank you, I'm just like, I really noticed that. Or if somebody just says something like, I don't know how you do it, I'll be like, oh my gosh, you're my new best friend, because you just like saw me as a human. But when I see like a passenger helping another passenger, especially with luggage, oh my gosh, I can't even believe what I'm seeing. Especially like I know this is, or maybe I shouldn't say this, but if it's like a man, I'm like, oh my God, who am I setting him up with? Because that is that should be someone's boyfriend that I know, because like that is so kind and special. So, or
it's hard to get some, some luggage there.
Yeah,
in the upper
somebody
compartment,
which is seats with like, a mother with a child, because like that can be very difficult getting seat swaps, especially when flights are full in the summer and it's all families. And then, some guy here, but he's a single traveler. He shouldn't have to change, especially if he booked a seat a million years in advance and paid extra for it. But sometimes you see like somebody willingly get up and help a family out, and that's very kind. Sometimes I can't believe I'm seeing it. So, I see it all the time, of course, but I just feel like I wish people knew how little they have to do to really stand out with kindness, because people are just
people are so focused on their cell phones, and I've seen the change in society. I feel
like I see it the most because people don't even talk to each other. They'll like ring their call line and be like, can you tell the lady next to me? And I'm like, oh my gosh, she's right here and she hears you telling me
talk to people.
Yeah, I'm like, it's just shocking to me. And my advice for like parents with newborns who are so nervous, I'm like, just say hello to the people in your aisle. Like, it's amazing
Yes.
how
Make eye
far
contact.
just how far hello will go. Opening the
And
window.
it's important when you're going through. I know we kind of, people tend to, they've seen the rituals in the beginning of pointing out, the safety features, and people just kind of block that out and they're on their phones. And people just absolutely tune out. And explain why, it's so important that people pay attention, at least for a period of time in that instruction.
Well, I mean, first of all, the biggest problem with our evacuations, of course, are the bags and people taking the bags with them. And so, it says in the video, don't take the bags with you. I don't know if it's because people aren't listening or they just don't care. Probably they don't care. But I feel like if you understood that, like, you have seconds to get off that plane, like, and you think you're the only one grabbing your bag, but you're not. Like, everyone's grabbing the bags now. That is the most stressful thing. And like, there's stories in the news now where the FAA is like coming out saying airlines need to train their flight attendants to deal with these bags. But what more can we do? There's nothing more we can do. And, people are just doing what they want to do. And my theory about it is, like, for so long, the airlines are using those safety videos as like a marketing tool, and they're so cute and they're so fun because they don't want to scare people. But I kind of feel like maybe we're at a point where people need to be really reminded why those videos are there. They're not because you're supposed to think. Like, there was a time when you had like Sports Illustrated swimsuit models in the videos, or everybody, it's cute and hot, or people complaining, like, it's just a marketing tool. So I don't
Well,
know.
the
I don't.
attention spans, I think that's the problem, is it's, the need to entertain people all the time. And this
And
is
then
a
people,
point when you should be paying attention.
right. Well, yeah. I mean, but not just paying attention, but also just like knowing when we tell you to do something, it's for your safety and the safety of everybody else. And you think it's just you doing something wrong, but I mean, it's like 300 people on a plane. If it's a 777 or 100 people on a plane, you got to go fast. Like, I think we're supposed to evacuate an entire plane, like, in just a few seconds or maybe 2 minutes. You think that's going to happen when everybody's got their stuff? No. No, yeah. So it'd be nice if people like watched and cared. I would say care, you know.
Just care about other people. There are some nervous passengers out there. And do you have any advice for them that maybe they may not think about if they're getting on a flight and perhaps they've had a bad experience? Something that they may not think about to calm themselves down.
Yeah, well, I've written a lot about that, and I've talked to a lot of them, and I say, like, what is your biggest fear? And I guess it's dying, and the odds of dying are very rare on an airplane. So, like, that's number one. But number two, if you're afraid, just like tell your flight attendant, and then what I would do is just like say we might be having turbulence soon, because it's like fear of the unknown. So then now they're aware it's coming up and it's going to last 15 minutes. And so that's like a sense of control. I used to, I can't remember the name. I used to recommend an app, and it shows you the weather on your phone. So you could, like, I remember I had a really scared passenger sitting in the last row, and it was very turbulent, and we were bumping around so bad. And then it kind of smoothed out. And then he turned around and said, okay, it's over. And then the pilot was like, okay, flight attendants, resume your duty. And I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. Because he, like, literally, and it was color coordinated. So it's just a sense of control, So, either tell your flight attendant, if there's time, maybe if you see the pilot, just say, hey, before you get on the plane, you see them standing at the gate. Hey, like, do you know if there's turbulence or how bad it's going to be? They know, and we know. And if you see us sitting, then you should sit. And we're not going to put our lives at risk at all. As soon as it's dangerous, I'm sitting down, and I don't care what you want. I'm sitting down. So if we're up and about, you're okay, And even if you're sitting, you're okay, because we are going to take extra measures to protect ourselves. And I wouldn't do the job if I thought it was dangerous or scary, or that I would die in turbulence. Like why would I do the job? So just look at me, read my face, and you can see that, you could read my energy and tell that you're safe.
Well, that's good. I think people, need that comforting message from you. I'm sure you have a million more stories, and I honestly, you should definitely read the book. It is excellent. And I got to say, it made me laugh. It is called Cruising Attitude Tales of Crash Pads, Crew Drama, and Crazy Passengers at 35,000 feet. Really good stuff. If you get a chance, it was a New York Times bestseller. Heather Poole, I appreciate the time that you spent talking to me today and offering some good advice and also that juicy Gallup gossip.
Thank you so much.